Smile on my face. It's a beautiful day. I'm gonna smile at the world. I'm gonna smile today. And this is why we do what we do. Here we go. We're gonna get started. Green Nurse Webcast at Holistic Caring. Here we go.
Change the paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship. And what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine. And I'm excited to really bring this into light. There's a company called Canam that we're merging with, and we will now be doing global education.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers.
Oh, here we are. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the High Noon Green Nurse Webcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. And we're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence that H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. And so what we've been doing here at the Green Nurses at Holistic Caring is we've been doing monthly webcasts on various conditions and talking about various cannabinoid formulations that may be helpful for that particular condition and the associated symptoms. So I'd like to introduce my business partner and co-host for our Green Nurse Holistic Caring monthly educational webinar podcast, Elisabeth Mack.
Hi.
She's the CEO and founder of Holistic Caring Network, where the Green Nurses operate out of, and and now we've merged.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's this month? It's Arthritis Month.
Here we go.
So we're drawing attention to chronic pain, arthritis, and all of the different ramifications of that. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited to have this chat today.
It's a good one because, as we know, chronic pain is the #1 cause of disability in the United States, right? And so it's Arthritis Awareness Month. And so, it's not like it's going down.
No,
it's
now,
not.
One out of 3 adults have arthritis and struggle with this on a daily basis. So 53 million Americans have doctor-diagnosed arthritis. And that is expected to grow to 67 million by 2030.
Wow.
That's a lot of people that are struggling with arthritis. And so what is arthritis?
No, there you go. What is arthritis? Wow.
Well, so, it's an inflammatory issue. It's a musculoskeletal issue. It's something that is connective tissue. We'll hear bone on bone. A lot of times people are talking about how essentially the cartilage between the joints erodes and then the actual bones begin to disfigure, which can cause, the nodules and the contractures and et cetera. And that can cause limited mobility in the joints or in the whole body as you start to have this. And sometimes it can be focused on just one spot of the body. And other times it can spread around and you can have really systemic arthritis. So we can talk about the different kinds.
Yep. So inflammation of a joint that's connecting two bones together. So just think of the fingers, wrists, hips, back, knee joints, right? And some of the symptoms can include what? Pain, decreased range of motion, stiffness, swelling, redness, and a sensation of heat, right? And so these symptoms develop and worsen over time, right? And so what happens with people? They don't move.
They stop moving, and they find, that maybe ice helps. So cool packs, and of course, NSAIDs, is the typical first response that most Americans use, and not just Americans, globally. Think about ibuprofen and naproxen and some of these NSAIDs, aspirins, Tylenol, all kinds of things that people are going to use to try and decrease some of the pain so that they can stop moving.
Yeah. Well, here we go. What do we have, right? The conventional system. Very, very liberal with pills and procedures, right? And, and there's other therapies that people use as well. They often prescribe physical therapy, people to do stretching, movement, yoga, chiropractic care, acupuncture, hydrotherapy, and massage.
And all of those can work. Chiropractic and acupuncture is something that, really opens up that joint space, keeps it moving, and tries to condition the body so that it doesn't deteriorate so much. And with acupuncture, think about traditional Chinese medicine tapping into those roots of dysfunction and disfigurement, where you can just put in tiny needles to release some of the pressure, as well as maybe re-steer things. It's a different way to think about things. But if we're gonna segue into cannabinoids, which we can do any minute now, but it's the same sort of thing, tapping into the root of what's going on, as opposed to just a Band-Aid to help promote function.
Yep. Absolutely. And so this is where cannabinoid therapeutics is such an interesting modality that can actually work in conjunction with conventional medicine. So what is cannabinoid therapeutics? Well, cannabinoid therapeutics is much more than just cannabis, because cannabinoid therapeutics encompasses all things that support and nourish the endocannabinoid system. So everything that we do or don't do as people affects the endocannabinoid system. And the endocannabinoid system is the largest neuroregulatory system in our body. It regulates all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give those messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. So what I really love, Elisabeth, is one of my favorite words, is pleiotropic. Right?
I love that word. Yeah. Pleiotropic is a word that I've been using for many, many years as I learned to talk about cannabinoids, right? When we put an aspirin into the body, it's going to go to, modulate some nociceptive pain signaling where we're having issues, right? When you put CBD into the body, it's going to help do that by enforcing anandamide and inhibiting the enzymes that break down our own endocannabinoids so that we have more available to us. So let's talk about the endocannabinoid system a little bit more. So we have receptors, CB1, CB2. CB1 is really going to be responsible for our nerve transmissions and our pain signaling. So think about nociceptive signaling. And what that means is I've got a bad shoulder, right? I've had 3 shoulder surgeries. And when I have pain in here, I have signal pathways that go from the shoulder up to the brain, where my brain interprets it and then helps my body react to what I should be doing. Well, cannabinoids, endocannabinoids, are modulating this pathway so that we're able to constantly adjust and downshift some of that pain so that we can function. And if it's not working correctly, we can supplement with phytocannabinoids, CBD. Directly, CBD helps us make more of our own anandamide and inhibit it from degrading. And then THC can activate those CB1 receptors directly, as well as some of the other phytonutrients. And that can directly turn down the nociceptive signaling. So THC can tell the brain there is no pain or is less pain.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're just going to kind of recap a little bit, because that was just a lot. So a lot of people are very, very new to cannabinoid therapeutics and the endocannabinoid system. We have an endocannabinoid system, not because of the cannabis plant, but because, like Elisabeth said, we make internal endogenous cannabinoids that are very, very similar to the plant. The plant makes THC. We make a molecule called anandamide and 2-AG, and the molecular structure is very similar. So they go in and they unlock the door to that neurotransmitter signaling systems, right? And so you think about how we like to educate is cannabinoid therapeutics is the pleiotropic. It's a medicinal treasure trove that works on multiple different physiological systems at the same time. And so when I'm educating new patients, new providers, oftentimes what we like to do is they need an analogy so they can really get it. So the human body is really complex. So the Green Nurse's umbrella is a really kind of a good way to kind of to start think about the interconnectedness of the entire body. So just imagine that your body is an umbrella, and all of the spokes of the umbrella are all of your organ systems that make up your entire body. Then you have all of those neurotransmitter signaling systems. Those make up the fabric pieces of the umbrella that attach to the spokes of the umbrella. The endocannabinoid system's at the tippy top of the umbrella, and it blankets on top of our umbrella because, as Elisabeth said, we have cannabinoid receptors on all of the cell surfaces of all 11 organ systems. And we have cannabinoid receptors also at the neurotransmitter signaling junction sites. We produce internal endogenous cannabinoids upon demand, on, off, to rain and shower on our umbrella, to give messages to bring our body into balance, to control that pain, how we eat, how we sleep, how we relax, how we forget, how we protect. So it's a system that's going on and off all day long. And the goal of cannabinoid therapeutics is to supplement from what you're not getting or creating or making, so your body can give messages to those neurotransmitter signaling systems, to all of your different organ systems, so your body can run like a well-oiled machine. Right.
So yeah, I mentioned CB1, which is mainly in the nervous system in the central channel, which is responsible for our pain processing. But CB2 is critical when we're talking about inflammation, because CB2 can help decrease some of the inflammation. And so CB2, so think about all of our cells having these little, I call them doorbells because I don't know what else to call them, but it's a little knob, you know, where when cell signaling happens between the cells, these little receptors are activated. And when that happens, it changes the physiology inside the cell. And so when we activate the CB2 receptor with either the endogenous cannabinoids, so like 2-AG, or THC directly, then we can lower the inflammatory response. And what that means in fancy science terms is limiting cytokine reaction, limiting some of the pro-inflammatory circuitry that causes the body to be sort of on fire. Inflammation is like a quiet fire just dwelling in your system, in the tissues. And it can be very painful. And of course, it causes all of that destruction, the redness, the swelling, the heat, the pressure, the erosion of the cartilage, and the changing of the bone formation, because the body's always compensating, trying to like bring itself back into balance. But if the endocannabinoid system is not working at its roots, then we are falling out of our, it's all kinds of states of disarray. And what happens is the body just keeps disintegrating, and the inflammation and the arthritis can get worse. And so what happens then is people go from NSAIDs to the biologics. Think about Humira and Enbrel and some of these other medicines that are A, very expensive, and B, somewhat dangerous because they suppress the immune system. And when that happens, they suppress the inflammation, and that is good. But the thing is, that now you're going to have a risk of infection. You're going to have a risk of other things that might not work correctly.
Yeah. And then the side effects too, steroids.
And then there's prednisone and corticosteroids,
which can, wreak havoc with your body in multiple ways. The big thing we see with women on steroids is osteoporosis. Right. So really, really important to think about how we can regulate, modulate our endocannabinoid system to keep our bodies in that homeostasis or running like well-oiled machines. So think about what cannabinoid therapeutics can do. It can decrease pain to provide relief, decrease inflammation to provide relief, promote relaxation to provide relief, promote sleep to provide relief, enhances mood to provide relief. And number one of all, relieves suffering and improves quality of life.
That's a big one right there.
Yeah, big one.
Because, when you think about this, when we are, as humans, when we are suffering, our quality of life suffers, our functionality suffers, our productivity suffers, our relationships suffer, everything suffers. And if people are living in chronic pain, don't you think it would be good to see if we can relieve some of that to promote functionality and quality of life and better productivity? So, one of the things I love so much about cannabinoid therapeutics is the ability to help people on so many multiple levels. If we go back to CB1, CB2, the endocannabinoids, the phytocannabinoids that mimic the endocannabinoids that help our body to maintain this network. Think about all of this constant sensations in the body. So Sherri talks about the umbrella, but think about all of these different systems: the nervous system, the immune system, the musculoskeletal system, the digestive system, all endocrine system. They're all connected. And the endocannabinoid system rides on top of all of them, basically communicating in between the cells and in between the systems to give us homeostasis or a sense of balance at the cellular level, which is why, most of the time we all work, right? It's like we're all existing in our state of homeostasis and grace, really.
Right.
And cannabinoids, the phytocannabinoids, nourish us and help us to be able to repair our bodies, minds, and spirits simultaneously. That goes back to that pleiotropic, the word that I love so much, because when we use phytonutrients, we supplement this system everywhere.
Yep.
You can
Mind, body, spirit.
Yeah,
Psychosocial, spiritual.
Yeah,
right?
CBD in the body is going to help us make more and keep our anandamide going. So that is going to activate CB1, CB2, lessening the inflammation, but also, going into the central nervous system and quieting some of the distress, the anxiety, the pain, the depression, lifting mood, maybe providing a little bit of energy, depending on exactly what we're using. So
we're going to get into that in just a minute. So let's get into some research. Okay. So, people say, oh, there's not enough research. Well, guess what? There is. And there's some really good research that's out there. And we look at things from Cannakeys. So in Cannakeys, there were 47 studies, 26 primary, 21 related, 2 lab, 11 animal, 8 meta-analysis where they're taking multiple different papers, white papers, studies, and putting them together, 3 clinical human trials, 1 double-blind placebo study. That's big. Mm-hmm. So literally the Cannakeys gave a synopsis and broke it down and listed all of these different research studies. But the bottom line was this: overall positive results based on these 47 studies was 93%. So that's just really something to think about. And we'll put the link with Cannakeys in there so you can all check it out. So Elisabeth, let's talk a little bit about the synopsis of cannabis research for arthritis. And we'll just kind of go in, not in too much detail because there's a lot, but the synopsis.
Mm-hmm. So modulation of the endocannabinoid system can help reduce some of the cytokines, right? So we talked about the pro-inflammatory circuitry that the body keeps where it's maintaining the inflammation because it thinks it needs to, because something is wrong. And so ideally we need to cool things down. And so what we need to do that is to nourish the endocannabinoid system so that it can think about the quarterback of the body, controlling all the signals for the team on the field. That's kind of what the endocannabinoid system does, blowing its whistle and making sure that everything is working. So if we have cytokines that are out of balance and they're causing inflammatory issues, the endocannabinoid system is going to pick up on that. Yep. And it's going to say, okay, let's turn a fire hose on that to quiet some of the inflammation. And when we are working, that's what the body is doing itself.
Right. Excellent. So what's the goal? They say that we want to optimize the endocannabinoid system, activating CB1 and CB2 that responds to our own internal endogenous cannabinoids, including those enzymes that play a role in decreasing symptoms of arthritis, but also play a role in modulating the underlying pathologies. Really, really cool. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that the research has shown that there's other cannabinoid sensitive and receptor sites, which include the TRP1, the TRPA1. And so these TRPs we covered last month in these specific receptors, and they modulate pain, inflammation, body temperature, and itching. So the research is really out there. And, as we all know, it's constantly evolving and developing. Trials suggest potential for therapeutic effects. However, in Canakis, they had mentioned 93% overall positive with the current studies. So Elisabeth, how do we work with patients with arthritis?
Well, the first thing we, ask all of the questions that are needed for a full assessment. What's going on with you? What are your functionality limitations? What is your degree of pain? How are you working? Are you endocannabinoid system analysis? How are you eating, sleeping, relaxing, forgetting, and protecting? Right. So how is your body working? And then as far as pharmaceuticals, what drugs are you taking? How are they working for you? How long have you been taking them? Who's your doctor? How are you working with them? What kind of care are you receiving? And other disciplines, chiropractic, acupuncture, what are you doing with that? Are you working with a nutritionist? Are you working with a psychologist to manage stress? Are you working with a body worker doing massage and structural repair? Are you working with restorative yoga and stretching and strengthening and toning? Because all of this has to be happening all the time to maintain the body. And so a full assessment is the first step.
And part of the things that we do when we assess clients as well is we ask them, have you ever used cannabis before? What's your experience? Have you had any bad interactions? What have you tried with the product formulations? Because sometimes patients will come to us and they'll say, oh, it doesn't work. I'm like, what doesn't work?
I tried CBD once. It didn't work. Somebody gave me some tincture and I took a few drops and I didn't notice anything. We get that a lot.
We get that a lot. And so basically the product works. It's about choosing the right product. So here it is. People are making amazing cannabis formulations. People are selling these great cannabinoid formulations, but really, truly, no one is educating patients on how to use cannabis as medicine. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
And the part that makes it just a little bit different is that we've also, as nurses, as cannabis nurses, we've been on the other side of the bed. We know what it's like to be patients. We figured out how to nourish and support the endocannabinoid system, not by just using cannabis alone, but by all of the things that are going to make cannabis work better. Period. So do we have any case studies, Elisabeth? Do you have any case studies? I know I have one.
Well, I have plenty.
Right,
but do you want to still talk about what we explain to patients?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If we did a case study, we could kind of explain how.
I like to start with, once I've done an assessment, I like to educate people, about the endocannabinoid system. First of all, that you have this system that the body is already containing, and the phytonutrients mimic the endocannabinoids so that we can restore balance. But what do those phytonutrients look like, right? People hear about CBD and THC, and so we need to tell them, okay, that's chemotype 3 and chemotype 1. So THC is chemotype 1 and chemotype 3 is CBD, and a balanced one is chemotype 2.
Yeah, so chemotype 1, more THC than CBD. Chemotype 2, equal amounts of THC and CBD.
Yeah.
Chemotype 3 is more CBD than THC, and that's considered to be your full spectrum products.
Yeah. And then we have to explain the difference between hemp CBD and cannabis CBD.
And for the new viewers, what is that?
Well, so cannabis CBD is 0.3% or more THC and is found in the dispensaries. So here in California, they would go down to the local dispensary and say, I would like some cannabis CBD. And that's going to have, it might have 1%, it might have 3% THC. So it's going to be more rich in the phytonutrients. And, if I had my way, I would start everybody on a full spectrum cannabis CBD with a little bit more THC, because I think it's better for full body healing. But, the hemp CBD is ideal because it's a great first starting space. It's not going to be impairing or intoxicating. It's not going to cause any issues, and you can buy it online for the most part if you can find a good vendor.
Yep. And so, so that is really, really important. I'm going to put a link in here.
Yeah. And so, we'll explain the different types of CBD versus THC and the balanced, and we can get fancy and talk about different ratios. Ratios of, a 20-to-1 is a high full spectrum CBD.
That's the
and a
chemotype
1-to-1 is a balanced, and a 1-to-10 is the high THC. So we have to tell them that, and then we talk about the different routes of administration and how patients can use different product forms, right? So we could have a tincture, we could have a topical, we could have all kinds of different things that we can talk about with patients.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just give an example.
Okay.
Right? I think an example would be good. And I'll just kind of give an example how we work with patients that might be a little scared and new to cannabis. Okay. Because everyone's different. Our cannabinoid requirements can change over time as we change. And so when we're working with patients, we'd like to start low and go slow and meet people where they're at, right? The essence of nursing is human caring, and that's caring for the human experience. Bottom line, we know as nurses and cannabis nurses, some things that patients should maybe explore right away. But if they're not ready for it, what we can do to start low and go slow is a really good thing. So I'm going to give an example of my mother. So my mother was anti-cannabis. She was plagued with stigma, didn't want to touch it, but had severe arthritis in her back. She had 3 surgeries. She broke her ankle, had arthritis in her ankle, arthritis in both of her knees. Petrified of cannabis. It took a while to get her open, but finally she reached out and said, I'm willing to try. She was so scared. She wanted to take the least amount because she's used to pharmaceuticals. So we started her off on a product I call SAFE, MCT oil, CBD isolate. And she used that as a topical and used it for a while and started to feel a little bit of a difference, but not enough that she would say, she just started, to feel it a little bit. It started to loosen things up. And could it be better? Of course it could be better. And we went to a broad spectrum product. She was still afraid of THC. So we started her off on that. She had a topical, and then she had a broad spectrum CBD product that she was taking a couple of times a day. And she started to notice a little bit more of improvement. So this is the start low, go slow. Next month, I'm ready. She's ready for the THC. So it was about education. Mom, you make internal endogenous cannabinoids very similar to the plant. We're only giving you a tiny amount of THC to supplement and maybe help your own body to start create its own. Started on the full spectrum CBD, full spectrum topical. Then she was ready to go a little bit higher. And she started on a 3-to-1. So that's 3 parts CBD to 1 part THC. So if you imagine, if it's 100 milligrams of CBD, 25 milligrams would have been the THC if you want to make it it was a 400, 200. Right. So basically, and that's what we do with patients. Start low, go slow, titrate up. CBD formulations in the daytime, maybe a little bit of CBG, to work on those CB2 receptors. So and also it's a little more stimulating, right? So it's not going to make you tired. And then adding in THC in the evening and the afternoon, because oftentimes too, when people take THC, it's going to help them sleep. Right. And the next day they may not need it because they can supplement with CBD full spectrum and have that trace amount of THC. So it's very, very workable. We're going to actually talk about one of the products that I put.
What kind of arthritis does your mom have?
Well, she actually has
osteoarthritis.
Yeah, she has osteoarthritis. She's got osteoporosis, and a lot of her arthritis was also caused by injuries, falling, bones not healing and not moving. Yeah. So you figure motion is the lotion. We want to keep our bodies well oiled so we can move. Exercise actually supports the endocannabinoid system. That feeling, that runner's high that people feel. It's the anandamide molecule stimulating those endorphins to circulate in your body, right? Listen, if you didn't get that bliss-like feeling when you exercised, you probably wouldn't do it as often, right? So we know that exercise feels really good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. My sister has rheumatoid arthritis, and she struggled with that for the past 40 years, ever since she was 25 years old. Now she's 65. She uses a walker and is just in debilitating pain all the time. And, she has a lot of bone disfiguration, etc. And she's had a very suppressed immune system. Pretty much the whole time I've seen her as adults, she's really been struggling. And so I've introduced her to cannabinoids too. And she's taking a 1-to-1 oil that she's using to support herself. And, just really supplementing the methotrexate, the other biologics that she has, as well as the oxycodone, because she is taking that. But you know what? She was able to reduce the dosing on the oxy. She was taking 8 a day for a while, and then she was at 6 a day. And now with the addition of the 1-to-1 oil, she's down to 4 oxycodone a day.
There you go.
And so I'm so happy for that, because when you've got somebody that you love, who you are seeing with hyperalgesia. She was, every opioid that she was taking, it got worse. And that's what happens as people escalate the dose. The opioid signaling system is not working correctly. And when people continue to escalate that dose, instead of working better, it works worse. And the only way to reduce the opioid-induced hyperalgesia or excessive pain is to limit the amount of opioids, and then they start working better. Right. And when we use cannabinoids, we are able to modulate both the opioid signaling systems and the cannabinoid receptor systems together at the same time. So I was able to help my sister to have her opioid dose, and that was pretty incredible.
Yeah. And a lot of people will say, you know, because we talk about opioids and people know that you can stop breathing. Cannabis, we do not have cannabinoid receptors on our brainstem to stop cardiopulmonary, to stop respirations. So, you know, and oftentimes too, like Elisabeth said, you know, combining cannabinoids with other pharmaceuticals can enhance the therapeutic effect and decrease the dosage that they need to take of those conventional pharmaceuticals. So we're going to talk a little bit about, we're doing a product of the month. We have been exploring Bloom Hemp. We got there. You're going to pull that one up.
Bloom. This is the recovery.
I have a slide, but the slide's not going to pull up because I didn't, because it's in a JPEG format. I didn't put it in a slide format. Anyway, so we're just going to talk a little bit about this product. Bloom Hemp makes an amazing product line. And so we've just been exploring them because they also contain other cannabinoids and other phytobotanical nutrients, other supplements that actually enhance the therapeutic effect. So we're just going to cover this one really quick. Bloom Hemp makes a product called Essential Recovery Tincture, 1,200 milligrams full spectrum CBD. So if you think about CBD in particular, it works on multiple targets within the body. It works on 76 molecular targets. That's huge, right? And then in this product also is 100 milligrams of CBG. CBG acts as an anti-inflammatory, analgesic, promotes bone growth. It's an anti-cancer, antidepressant, and antibacterial. There's also turmeric in there from curcumin, right? That's an anti-inflammatory. One of my favorites is ginger. Yeah. Good for the gut, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, assists with digestive health and the microbiome. Microbiome health is critical when it comes to managing inflammation. Right. So our enteric nervous system communicates to our central nervous system via the endocannabinoid system. So what a great component, ginger. Other good one, black seed, right? Black cumin, caraway. It has anti-inflammatory properties. It supports metabolic and autoimmune conditions. And finally, the last ingredient in there, which I really like, and there's a lot of companies that are starting to carry this in their products, is biopepperine. So biopepperine, so when you're looking at products, you want to look at the label. Biopepperine in a cannabinoid formulation improves the bioavailability of the other ingredients. Really cool. So how would you instruct someone?
And it's black pepper.
Black pepper.
And black pepper activates CB2, at lowering the inflammation. So all of these ingredients, as you can tell, so we've got the 1,200 milligrams of CBD, organic CBD, organically grown, 100 milligrams of CBG, and all of these beautiful botanicals, in addition to terpenes. Right?
Terpenes.
I can't read this, but I'm pretty sure.
Get my magnifying. Well, anyways, for terpenes, for people that are new out there, terpenes are inorganic compounds that are found in essential oils. They're found in plants. They're found in cannabis, and they give the plant its smell and its flavor. And each terpene has a therapeutic potential that does a different thing in the body. So when you think of cannabinoid formulations, you want to use whole plant. You want as much as possible in that formulation, because if you think about it, go back to the umbrella. When you give a single isolated molecule, poking on the umbrella is what I look at it, right? It just goes one place and it starts to poke a hole in that umbrella. But if you imagine you have cannabinoids showering multiple components, CBD, CBG, turmeric, terpenes, etc., you're hitting multiple different receptors at the same time. You are working on that mind, body, and spirit.
And you know what I call that? It's the entourage effect and the symphony. So the symphony, so the analogy of the orchestra really brings the entourage effect to life. When we have that isolate, we have that one person that is playing on the stage, right? It could be a cello or a violin or the piano or a French horn, etc., right? When we have the entourage effect, we have the entire orchestra all folded in together, playing harmoniously. And that's what these phytonutrients do when they get into the body. They go wherever they need to go to fine tune everything all at once in a very beautiful way. And it's the orchestra.
It's the divine, I call it the divine orchestration of the universe. Thank you, plant medicine. And I want to say thank you, Nurse Elisabeth, for putting a couple of sales on this month.
Oh boy, what do we have on sale? What do we have on sale?
So holisticcaring.com, Elisabeth has created the most amazing pathway programs for patients and providers. So this month, for the whole month, she's written a program called Chronic Pain and Cannabis. It's an amazing program.
So I'll talk about that program. So I've been writing for years. I love to do research on, what does conventional medicine do? How does it treat this condition? What is the condition? How does the body break down? And what are the ramifications of that? What does conventional care do for that? And then what are the cannabinoid potential therapeutic options? Most of it is preclinical, but as Sherri alluded to, cannabis and many other resources tell us all of the human studies that are beginning to happen. And so we go through that. We go through 73% of all people using cannabinoids say they're doing so for arthritis in a poll in Denver when they were asking people why they're getting cannabis at the dispensaries. And this was an AARP study, a lot of observational studies. So we'll pull those in some of the data and analyze that. And then we'll talk about and especially in the arthritis one, the three different types of pain: nociceptive pain, the signaling, neuropathic pain, or the inflammatory issues, and central pain that can happen where you've got a mind and a body affected in the central nervous system, as well as in the inflammatory and the pain signaling. Mm-hmm. So, and then we talk about how cannabinoids can alter all three of those at the same time. So conventional care, you're going to have aspirins, oxycodone, NSAIDs for nociceptive pain. Inflammatory pain, you're going to have gabapentin, Neurontin, Lyrica, nerve deadening things. In central pain, you're going to have antidepressants, and you're going to have things that are going to help you sleep and manage mood. Cannabinoids do all of that at the same time simultaneously. And in this program, I talk about that and then fold in the different types of cannabinoids and the different routes of administration, the flexibility that patients have when they go to the dispensary. If they buy this program, they're going to know what to do. Exactly. It's essentially like I call it the instruction manual for all those products, right? How are we going to know how somebody's going to go into a dispensary and talk to a bud tender and get medical advice from a 22-year-old that may, or may not know anything about arthritis or how to take care of you or any of your medications or how to use them together and etc. Right? So what we do in this program is talk about all of what you need to know and put it right out there for you to learn and understand. And it's a great value at $100, but today it's 25% off. So we have Relief 25. Yep. And so it's only $75. So if you know somebody that's struggling with chronic pain, please refer them to this program and let them know that we're here to help.
Yep. And then we're also offering too. So if you're also new and you want to talk to a nurse first, what you can do is you can book a nurse coaching session, 1 hour session with us. And then you get this program half off, which is great. Yeah. So happy Nurses Week. We're gonna wrap this up, right?
Nurses Week is coming. Well, we're what is it?
Nurses Day was Friday.
Yeah.
Nurses, I like to call it, the year of the nurse. The year of the nurse was 2020, 2021. I think we should continue it. Nurses.
20 years in a row, we're the most trusted profession on earth, just about every country.
Yeah.
And so we're having a special for nurses. All nurses use the code NURSE25, and you can get 25% off any of our professional programs. Correct. So if you're a nurse that's been interested in doing the whole compendium of our curriculum, where you can learn everything about cannabinoid therapeutics, take one of our professional pathways. The Cannabis Health Coach has everything that you could possibly need to learn about cannabis, from the history and all of the ramifications, how we lost access to this plant in 1937 through the Marijuana Tax Act, all the way through Israel and the beginning of cannabis science, and Raphael Mechoulam discovering CBD and THC and isolating, synthesizing those, discovering the endocannabinoid system all the way into the products, the routes, and then all of the conditions from,
I'll just, it's amazing. So I'm just going to tell you all, I've looked at them all every single program out there. That's why I merged with her. One of the smartest women I've ever met. And she's continually updating and researching and adding more to these programs. It is, I call it, it is a treasure trove of information. It's a toolkit. It's a business in a box. It's going to help you to launch your cannabis nursing career if it's something that you're interested in. And we also, to go along with it, we have mentoring, so we have a community. So we want you to join us in our community. It's a free community, free introductory to cannabis, free patient portals, support group, and monthly book club. So definitely, we are here as nurses to educate and empower you as patients and as providers, because as clinicians, guess what, y'all? We have a moral, ethical obligation to teach on something if we know it's going to improve quality of life. And nurses in particular, Happy Nurses Week. If you all don't know, if you're a new nurse out there and you don't know this was something that I learned in 2018. The National Council State Boards of Nursing put out a call to action. And the National Council State Boards of Nursing is the nursing regulatory board that puts out the NCLEX exam that all nurses must take to get registered in their particular state. Their call to action was that all nurses, nursing students, advanced practice nurses must have 6 essential areas of knowledge when it comes to cannabis as medicine. So Elisabeth's program at Holistic Caring is amazing, and it's going to help you to learn those 6 essential areas.
I was just doing the math. There's 332 million Americans and 5 million nurses. So I think this doesn't make sense because I'm getting 66. But imagine if every nurse learned cannabis therapeutics and was able to talk to patients across America. Imagine the breadth and the reach that we would have and helping people access and understand this sacred plant.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and next week, we're not going to have a podcast next week because we're traveling.
Next week is the Cannabis Science Conference.
Yeah, Cannabis Science Conference is going to be really interesting. It's going to talk a lot about plant medicines, not just cannabinoid therapeutics, but psychedelics. Some of our cannabis nursing colleagues are going to be out there presenting, which is going to be really exciting. Kathleen Graham, big shout out to you. Kathleen and I submitted a poster for the Cannabis Science Conference, and it's been submitted. So we'll be presenting our poster presentation on cannabinoid therapeutics, chemotypes, terpenes, and how it's important at the end of life to make sure you're choosing an appropriate product. And we're going to give specific case studies. So really, really excited for that.
Yeah, and I'm just realizing that next month, on June 8th, it would normally be our monthly webcast. We're going to have to postpone that one till July because we will be in Kansas City arriving for the Patients Out of Time, and I have an American Cannabis Nurses Association board meeting that afternoon. So we're going to have to punt until July 13th. We will be back for our monthly webcast.
The monthly webcast, but we'll be starting live again in a couple weeks with the Wednesday evening podcast. So thank you all for joining us. Please visit us at www.holisticcaring.com.
Is there a Bloom coupon that
people
can
use?
There is
a Bloom coupon.
Because we forgot to talk about that. We talked about the Nurse 25 and the Relief 25. Do you have a code for people to order this beautiful recovery bottle?
Yeah, recovery, relief. We got, they have a digestive tincture. So
calming.
So bloomhemp.com, green nurse for 10% off and free shipping. Really, really good products. Really happy.
Topicals,
capsules, gummies.
Yeah, I always like to tell people this is for the inside, the systemic relief. This is for the outside, the localized relief. And I use both every day. So you got to have an inside and an outside approach to cannabis therapeutics.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining us. It has been an amazing webcast. As always, Elisabeth, thank you for all you do for patients and providers. And we're just going to end with one of my favorite videos because you know what?
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah.
And remember, everyone, what it's all about. It's about living your best life and helping others do the same.
God bless.
We're here to educate and empower patients to make choices that are best for them. We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I was cannabis agnostic for many, many years. And you know, the more research I did, the more I discovered that cannabis is this amazing medicine.
I was told that I had a 4-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctor really told me he couldn't do anything else. He gave me her name and she called me and she came to my house. She started to give me cannabis. My oncologist was puzzled because he couldn't find the cancer anymore.
All of the learning that we get comes from the Green Nurses group, comes from their support, comes from their guidance. I trust everything that she says.
Simply meet people where they're at. The plant doesn't, stress to grow, so we don't stress to share it. We're healing people.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for tens upon thousands of years. Here's the big message. Cannabis needs to be federally legal. We need to have laws that are the same across all 50 states that allow access to anyone and everyone who wants to utilize this powerful medicine.